address, and then after that, it's
Oh,
your wallet. So
I see.
Hmm. So this says it's live. This says it will begin in a few moments.
Hmm. Yeah, I've put. Let me see here. So I've put in $20 of real money into my wallet, but currently my Bitcoins is worth $33.
cool.
So I'm making money, man.
That's funny. I mistyped the show number. This is going on YouTube as GeekRant number 2245.
Wow, that's we've been around for a while, huh?
Yeah, that's ambitious. All right, gang's all here. It's been a while since that happened. So Seth, you're able to do notes and stuff?
Yeah. Hold on, just a second. Let me.
I'm not even going to ask you to try to record locally.
Oh crap! I could because I have Audacity on here.
Let's burn that tablet to the ground.
No kidding.
And
Your battery life is
well,
going to go from enough to nothing.
I can go get my charger. See, where would I plug it in at? I could plug it in somewhere around here.
Redneck technology. I love it.
No,
Yeah, you do
okay,
what you
here.
gotta
You want
do.
the tour?
So is this your house, Seth?
You're panning
Yes.
too fast. We can't see anything.
Yeah, it's just a
Oh.
big blur.
Oh, I just threw up in my mouth a little bit.
There.
I can't handle disarray like that. Stop!
There.
Stop! You're making me ill. What was that book there that said health and had pictures of like 1973 on it?
Some random school textbook. I have no idea how it got here, but it's here.
Are those Bugle Boy jeans you're wearing? Why, yes, they are. Okay, so do you think you're good, or do you think you need to go get your tablet?
Let's see. I am still at.
I mean, your charger.
I'm at 78% now.
Okay. So 2% in 10 minutes. So you're good. You got about 10 hours.
But I mean, I can go for several hours though.
Yeah.
So, okay, where are you, Audacity? This is the tablet I recorded the interviews on when I went to whatchamacallit.
Okay.
But I don't have Dropbox installed here, so.
Well,
I'll
you
have
can go to the
come up with
website.
something.
You can go to Dropbox website and upload it from there.
If I remembered my password for that, I sure could.
LastPass.com. That's my password to everything. LastPass.com.
Testing 1, 2, 3. It looks like it's working. Stop. Play. Alrighty, so you tell me how do I look? I can't even see myself now.
We're kind of up the nose a little bit.
There's, like I say, I have a drawer pulled out, sitting on the drawer. I only have one USB port on here because I don't have a hub, and my mic is plugged into it, so I don't have an external keyboard.
There's way less latency here than normal. Like when your mouth moves, I hear the sound. Normally, they're not synced up so well.
Huh. Okay. Well, are we ready to start the recording?
We are.
Okay, I'm recording now.
So am I.
Let me see. I should probably look to see if there's anybody in the chat room. One guy might care.
Oh, let's see.
Yeah, cross-posted in the Podnuts chat room. You know, I'm on one of their shows now, so that's not douchebaggery, right?
No, it should be fine.
Yeah. Oh, and my Audacity machine already crashed. That was fast.
That was not good.
Maybe we got it out of the way early.
There you go. That's how we'll think of it.
I'm a floating head. Ah. I could probably turn off that backlight.
If you want to go, I mean, you can look at the live stream and see what it's going. If you want to see what you look like. Oh, open one other thing on that poor tablet.
Yeah, he's kind of beating that one up pretty good.
It was actually better the other way.
You think so?
Yeah.
Okay.
This is more witness protection program. I'm just gonna break down and buy a new laptop.
Still crashing out.
My circa 2009 Windows XP machine. Who knew? It's just not gonna handle it.
It looks like I'm gonna buy one too, because my, like I say, it's the infinite reboot cycle.
I still have a few pennies left over from DigitalOcean. I guess that's what I'll have to do. Use it with on for. Okay. Let's make a show. Let's get ready to podcast.
Sure. Let's do it.
All right.
That would be a great intro, actually.
We could get sued for that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. That guy actually has that phrase trademarked.
The let's get ready?
Yeah, let's get ready to rumble is a trademarked phrase.
Huh.
We're saying podcast.
Yeah, because that nobody would notice the difference. Okay. Hello, everyone, and welcome to GeekRant, episode 224. Facebook follow-up, recorded January 24th, 2016, and brought to you by Element Opie Productions, elementopie.com. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the show where you can let your geek flag fly. That's the Geek Rant. We're glad to have you back with us, and I am your host, Mark, the Sultan of the Soapbox Cockerel, and joining me, as always, I can actually say that now, because they're all here, is Chris, the Command Line Godfather Neves, and Seth, the Gooey Kid Anderson. Hello, gentlemen.
Hello, Mark and Seth. It's great to be back. I hope you guys had a great time without me.
And welcome to my humble abode, everyone. It is great to be here today. Yay.
If you're watching the live stream, Seth is having technical difficulties. I think the audio is going to come out so that nobody will notice the difference, but he's actually working off a little 10-inch tablet, a Windows tablet. He's doing Microsoft proud.
Yeah, I went to turn on, I have a laptop. I pretty much only use it for the podcast. I turned it on, and it turned on, and it turned on, and it turned on. So I was like, okay, pull all the components, put them back in, same thing. So it's like, crap. Well, I have a tablet, so I'm using that. Yay, tablet.
I still say you should give SpinRite a try.
I might. But like I say, I can't even get into hitting F2, and it's like going into setup, it'll die again. So.
And I'm digging the groovy 1960s bookcase behind you there. It gives you a very sophisticated look.
And that bookcase is just some one-buys that we built. So.
Hey, if it works, it works.
That's right. I used to have a lot more of that stuff like that in my house. It's things I'd built, but I kind of stopped building things when I could afford to buy things.
Yeah, well, that's why it was built, because we had no money and free labor, so we built stuff.
And so the reason there's a bookcase behind Seth and not a hammer hanging on a nail is that Seth is podcasting from a new location.
Ooh, do tell.
Well, one time before I've recorded it, but this is my house, so I'm recording from my house because, anyway, just, life is fun, and so occasionally stuff happens. And so this week and next week, I'm recording from the great abode of Anderson.
Awesome. On your newly upgraded bandwidth.
Yes.
And so next week, but the next time we speak, you will have run your first 5K of the year, right?
Well, I will have done it. I don't think I'll be able to run, although I'm getting better. The last time, Friday, when I ran, I did 20 laps, and I would do 6 laps running and then walking another 6. And the last one of those, I ran as hard as I could for the whole way. So probably mile and a half that I actually ran. So I'm going to finish this one, and the one in February I should be able to run all the way through. But yes, Saturday, so a week from yesterday, my first 5K.
Very cool. That's
awesome.
I'm looking forward to hearing how that progresses throughout the year.
Yeah, I've got a T-shirt I made, facebook.com/cellulite in motion, and I'm going to wear that. And who knows, I might get some likes from it. But
That's great. You are one of like 3 pages I've ever liked. I don't like things on Facebook ever, and so you should feel proud.
cool.
Awesome.
We made it through the great blizzard of 2016 here in Atlanta. It was touch and go there for a while. We got almost 3/4 of an inch of snow, and it was really rough. But fortunately, it melted by about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, so we were fine.
How many
come
days
on.
of school did they close for that this year?
2. I'm not kidding you. They closed Friday before 1 drop of even rain had fallen on Thursday night, and then they canceled all school extracurricular activities on Saturday. So
My goodness. That just makes me sad. I die inside a little bit every time you tell me that, Mark. You realize that, right?
well,
It's been snowing. It's been snowing almost all day today, and yeah, we'll still have school. We'll still have work. There won't be a thing changing tomorrow for us.
as I've pointed out many times before, here in the South we have no infrastructure for that, and
I
it's
know.
not worth the money to put in infrastructure. But yeah, the governor actually put out like a statewide announcement. Well, at least North Georgia, I assume he's the governor, but he said he recommended that all businesses close in time to allow the streets to be emptied by 3 p.m. so that they could run the salt and brine trucks because the snow is expected to come in around 4 or 5. So we got to go home at 2 and work from home the rest of the day, and everybody in the schools were letting out at noon and stuff. So it was literally by government fiat that we all shut down, because we were expecting up to 2 inches of snow. That was the expectation. What we got personally at my house was we might have gotten 2 inches over the full course of it, but the only accumulation, because the first several hours of it melted right away, is we got about 3/4 of an inch that actually accumulated.
And then it melted by 3.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, there's still, like, in the shadowy areas, there's still a few patches of it, but the streets were drivable the streets never stopped being drivable, but the streets were clear by like 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yeah.
Okay. I do have one other super exciting announcement. The Zcast app, probably soon to be renamed, because we found out there's another one. Anyway, the show that started out as the Element OP app, the Everyday Linux app, and then became the Zcast app, and has been available on my website exclusively, is now available in the Play Store. So it is no longer a closed beta. It is now a public beta, still considered beta, but you can go to the Play Store and search for Zcast, and I'm super excited about it. It is stable enough. Actually, I kind of had to talk Kaiser into doing it. He still wanted to take things a little slower, but I'm ready to go, and so it's out there. I've downloaded it. If you've downloaded the version from my website, the IDs have changed and stuff because of reasons, so you'll probably end up having to redo your podcast cache, but it's there, and we're right now it doesn't offer import or export. You can just search and add, but that's the next feature to be added. So that's what I'm hoping will be the sort of the killer app. Guys like me who have 100 different feeds or more can export those and just suck them right into Zcast, and then have them sorted by commentable and non-commentable. So those are the things that are coming. But I'm a proud papa. I've given birth to an app, and like a dad,
cool.
I did like 5 minutes of work giving the ideas, and somebody else did all the rest of it. So it's really a good analogy. Kaiser's the mom. He did the labor part of it. I just was there at the beginning and then handed out cigars.
Cool.
It should be cool. I can't wait to try it again for the 5th time or something.
And you warned us, Chris, that there might be some unusual noises coming from you, and that not to worry about it. You're not holding anybody captive at this point.
That's right. There's no one tied up in my basement, at least not unless it's voluntarily. But yeah, we ended up getting a new puppy. Actually, it's not a puppy, but it's a 10-month-old dog that we're currently breaking habits and adding new ones. So it's been a long couple of days. But she's a cutie, so I'm happy.
Well, that's cool. I'm excited about that. And I'm just going to jump straight over the news. We will have some news coming up later, but I want to get straight to this show is going to be a follow-up on the whole Facebook show that we did earlier, where we were talking about the guy who lost his job ostensibly because of some comments that he made on Facebook, and because I forgot to plug in my mixer, and the next thing I have to do is play an audio file. Seth, recap the story for us.
Okay, well, we talked, and this has been a few weeks ago now, where this this woman did an article on Facebook, and what she talked about really wasn't important, but this guy who was a manager at an apartment complex didn't so much attack her article as he called her a slut, and she reached out to the apartment company who was like owns the apartment and said, hey, do you know that your employee's doing this? And so that company suspended him while they investigated him, and then they fired him. And the only reason we know is that because from his personal Facebook account, he didn't do it from his apartment complex account, but from his personal account, he called somebody a slut, and then he got fired for it. At least that's the story from the Daily Beast. Was that enough, Mark?
No, it wasn't, because I don't have. But I'm gonna go with it, and I'm gonna see what happens if I play it. So I've got a different setup than the last time I played an email. I want to see what happens if I play it from here. Our first voicemail is from our friend Aaron. See if it's going to play.
Hey guys, Aaron here, of course. Love the new show title, GeekRant. That's a cool title. Wanted to chime in about the man who was fired for a Facebook post. I was just curious, Mark, especially since you were the one most cranting, if the person had been standing in line at Chick-fil-A in their full-on UPS garb, hat, shorts, shirt, all duty brown, shoes, and they had told the person in front of them that they were bleeping bleep to bleep, and somebody else had heard that and reported them. They're off work, but they're in uniform. Does that matter? Are they still, free from employment repercussions? Because the guy, and the only reason I'm tying that in is because the guy had his current place of employee publicly displayed on his Facebook profile, which was, I'm trying to draw somewhat of an analogy between wearing your company shirt out and about, something like that. Just curious what you thought. See you guys.
All right, and I love the fact that Aaron was the first commenter on the new show, since he was a former host. And there's three things here that sort of all go together. So that's Aaron's comment. We have another one from our friend the Door-to-Door Geek, and then another one from Mark B. I want to do those in rapid fire because they all go together, and then we'll discuss all three of them at once. So Now let's hear what Door has to say. Right after I click the button.
Hello, Mark. Hello, Steph. Very good episode number 1 of GeekRant, aka 300 and whatever of everything. Good episode. Very good episode. I figured Door-to-Door Geek should be the first person to send you a voicemail on this new show. I'm just happy you guys are continuing on great content. Mark's emotion was very apparent on that show. Honestly, to help make it a really good show. Great back and forth. Keep it up. The only comment I have is I have to just technically disagree with one part of what Mark said. Saying something to somebody else in a public forum is not the same as typing something on a web server that's visible to all. It's recorded in history. That would be like if I was able to walk in that food court and just step in the right spot and hear you say it again, even though it's been days and weeks and months. So it's slightly different. It's not any better or worse. It's just slightly different. But either way, I really hope the guy did do something more than that to get fired, because if not, that was worse. Keep up the great work, and keep listening to you guys each and every week.
All right. So Aaron's point is that the the association with the employer was a problem. And Dorr says that the problem is that it's not so much what he said or where he said it or his association with the employer, but the fact that online is permanent. And listener Mark B sort of combines both of these arguments into one. He says, Dear Element OP crew, during the Sultan's rant about the man getting fired for making a derogatory comment on Facebook, Mark compared posting comments online to being overheard at a mall food court. I don't think this is a fair comparison due to the fact that anyone with a Facebook account can look a public comment up, i.e., unless someone invents a time machine and can rewind what happens at a public place, only the people there can witness what has happened. Any word of mouth is hearsay and can be repeated in error. I don't agree that he should have been fired. However, the comparison isn't close enough to be valid in my opinion. You are right that in the U.S. we have freedom of speech per the Constitution. However, that doesn't mean we don't have to deal with repercussions, even though political correctness chaps my rear. This is why I no longer use Facebook, and I rarely tweet anything. It's not worth the hassle, in my opinion. Those are my 2 cents I'd like to share. Thanks for the podcast. I've been listening to every one of them. Keep up the good work. Sincerely, Mark B. in Tennessee. So I have some comments that I want to make about that, but I'll let you guys go first. Just sort of synthesizing those three, that that in person is different than online, and that online is permanent and in person isn't, and that the association with the employer is the problem, regardless of where that employee is and what they do. So, Chris, you go first. What are your thoughts, just off the top of your head, on those three combined arguments?
Well, I think they're all kind of not a good argument. In this particular instance, I think the guy should not have been fired at all because of it was done on his personal page, not in a public fashion. So, and yes, everything that Aaron and Dorr and Mark B say, I mean, they're not attacking the problem, they're attacking the way your analogies to it, which I kind of agree with. Your analogy isn't completely exact, but it's as close as we can get without trying to really nitpick. I don't know what else to say about it. I think that the fact that he got fired on his private page saying something is just like if somebody wrote it up on a telephone pole. There's no difference. Yes, it is written, but it should not. I wouldn't expect Mark to fire me because I said something about him in a private conversation or in a private at a dance club.
Oh, I would, brother. If I hear you say anything bad about me, you're out of here. You're gone.
Too late.
So, Seth, what are your thoughts?
Well, I did not think about the fact that he had listed on his webpage that he was an employee there. So, that's like on my Facebook page, I don't have where I work. I mean, I'm friends with some of the people I work with, but I'm an employee of whatever. I don't even like the company page. So from that, that gives a little weight if somebody is saying they're an employee and in the same venue they declare themselves an employee, they make a statement such as that, then you could argue the point that they willingly place themselves under any type of morality clause by claiming an employment with the company in the same venue they made this statement. So from that standpoint, it gives the company letting him go a little bit more strength. But again, I mean, I don't think he was a good employee to begin with, or he wouldn't have got fired over something like that.
Yeah, there's probably more to the story than what we're actually being told. Maybe he was a public relation nightmare, and that just was kind of the tipping of the iceberg. But as far as my personal beliefs on what you can and can say in public, or in this case on Facebook or Twitter, it's that whole idea. If you get what you put out there, and if you're putting out negativity, you're going to get negativity back, and that's what ended up with this guy. I just don't think it's right that it was Facebook that got him fired. But I've known of another case here in my hometown where the same thing happened. A bartender made comments about the owner, and the owner fired him because of his comments on Facebook, which personally I think it was totally not appropriate, but it's what happened.
Yeah, so taking them in order. So Aaron's comment that when you are branded, and I actually like that analogy, right? The having the employer listed on your Facebook page is very similar to wearing the company uniform in public. I can accept that analogy. I think that's fair. In my Facebook page, I do list my employer, but it's only visible to my friends. It's not public. So that, we could take that a little farther and say that I would only wear my uniform, in a gathering of my friends. So it would be unlikely for this person to be able to out me like that. But I don't think. I think we get into Mark B's comment we were talking about there about free speech, right? And I was very careful not to invoke free speech. I did say I did use the phrase his rights and defend his rights a couple of times, and what I was referring to that is rights under employment law, not rights under constitutional law, because the free speech, the First Amendment has nothing to do with this entire interaction. Americans like to throw around the freedom of speech thing and the First Amendment, and when it's completely inappropriate. The Freedom of Speech Act, the amendment says that Congress shall make no law abridging the right to free speech or the execution thereof. That's a paraphrase. I can't quite remember the exact of it, but it's close. So in this case, there is no law involved. And in fact, I think that were the employee to go and try to make a free speech case on this, no court would even hear the case. It just doesn't fit. Right. So that's my fault for being a bad communicator. I use the word rights and I use the word defending his rights, but I was thinking much more in terms of employee rights under U.S. employment law. So my fault for not being clear on that. I know that what the First Amendment is, and I try to stay away from invoking it when I shouldn't. And if I didn't come off clear there, I apologize. But I do think it's interesting that that goes on to Aaron's comment. Do I give up rights by putting on a uniform? That's a question. What do you think, Seth?
I mean, you signed a contract of employment. So whether you give up rights or not, you voluntarily chose to lay down your personal rights to accept the benefits of employment of that company. So if you're acting in any office as that company, or as an employee, then those rights that you agreed to would supersede whatever personal rights you have, I would think. So again, I assume there's some employment contract. You promise not to defame the company or something like that. And, proclaiming yourself, hey, I'm an employee of this company and I think she's a slut, well, then you've brought the company into it because you said you were a part of that company. I
just want to point out that we were very careful not to use that word the last time, and you've used it twice already.
Oh, sorry.
I don't. That's comedic. But Chris, same question to you. When I put on a company uniform, do I abridge my rights voluntarily?
I don't think so. Because that'd be like the same idea with the companies handing out gear. If it's just because it has the company's logo on it, say the UPS analogy that Aaron brought up. Let's say it was a company's polo with their name on it, and his name's on it too. That doesn't technically mean he's an employee. So how would you know for sure that that is an employee of the UPS? It could just be that he got a branded shirt because they were they were handing them out at a conference. So unless it's a uniform that would be guaranteed that when you see this person wearing this type of clothing, that is a employee of XYZ company. So I don't think so. Personally, I don't believe that should hold any water in any court, because there's too many different ways to you can go out and make a fake police uniform, but that doesn't mean you're a police officer.
Just completely accidentally, I happen to be wearing a UPS brown shirt tonight. I could be mistaken as a UPS employee in this. But so I'm gonna draw the line somewhere between the two of you. And Seth, I think you said it really well. You said something like in the execution of their duties. So if the UPS guy was carrying an Amazon Prime box and stepped out of his truck with the lights flashing in the front, and on his way up to the counter to deliver it, called somebody a name, then yes, that's a fireable offense. If
or at least a write-upable offense.
Right,
'Cause
okay,
I don't know if
yeah.
it'd be fireable.
Well, it depends on the terms of the contract.
Right,
We said that lots of times. If the UPS guy cuts me off in traffic and violates the traffic laws in the course of his actions, yes. But to the casual observer, it's 1 o'clock in the afternoon and the UPS guy is standing in line at the restaurant of choice and he's a jerk. There's no difference in that person's mind between that and where he carrying a box and headed up to the counter with a clipboard to be signed. So I get that from the brand management point of view, and you would definitely want to manage that in accordance with the company policy, where you are besmirching the brand. So I understand that point. I'm not entirely sure I buy that it goes with the argument here with the Facebook guy, because he's not wearing a uniform. He just happens to have an employment listed.
And those employment listings are not verified. I could say I work for, Intel. Just because I want to say I work for Intel on my Facebook page doesn't mean I truly work for Intel or some other company.
I've been a bug tester for Microsoft since 1984.
See? So the point with, because it's on my Facebook page, it must be true, is a fallacy. That's totally fake, because anybody can be saying they're from anything. You're going on the idea that what I say is true when everybody knows that no one is true all the time. Everybody lies.
But Chris, that's a very slippery slope, because if you follow that very far, then nobody's liable for anything because they only said it and you don't have any way to prove it. He chose to identify as that. So whether
right.
And the fact that he does, it was what he did was truthful, therefore there's some consequences to that action. Whether he thought out those consequences or not, though his actions have consequences. Now, again, I'm not saying that this was a fireable offense, but again, if in the same venue you identify affiliation with this group and that is true, then if you break the rules of that group, then there's some punishment that should come your way. Firing, I don't know, something.
See, and the other thing that I didn't see in the article when I was reading it, or even thumbing through it really quick, it doesn't say what his profile settings are. Because was that a public post, or was it a post to friends?
He replied on somebody else's.
Right. So he made a comment on somebody, Ford. I forgot their name actually. So Ford something. So he went into her realm. And
right.
So when somebody comments on you, that doesn't automatically friend you. So obviously it was public. So because she was able to look it up.
Sure, but that would also equate to the same level of going into the local bar or nightclub and calling someone a slut. In this particular case, in my opinion, that's how that would also feel. Just because you post it online doesn't mean that at least in my book, I don't see that as a fireable offense. As an employee or an employer, that's ridiculous. That'd be like someone coming up to me, let's say we're running a restaurant and someone came up to me and said, hey, well, that person outside of work called me a dirty name. So it's outside of work. It doesn't hold any weight at his job, unless his job was managing his Facebook page for money. I don't think it should have been a firing offense.
All right, so there's that argument. It does. It's interesting where we all come down on the side of the association with the company, and what is the definition of association with the company, right? Does it mean doing your duty, in the course of your actions? So I pose the question to both of you: when you sign up for work, do you give up some rights? And both of you had different answers to that. My answer is yes, you do. When I am in a certain building wearing a name badge, there are certain things I can't do. I have surrendered those rights, as Seth said, for the benefits of being employed. I no longer own my time. There is a group of people above me who can determine where I go and when I go there. I don't even get to decide, whether I can drive my own vehicle, right? There are things like that. There are a lot of rights that I have given up. There's language I can't use. There are actions I can't take. I can't sleep as long as I want to. All within the context of losing my job. I can do any of those things I choose to. I'm not physically prevented from it. But should I do those things, disciplinary action will go forth. So and it's one of those things we said so many times. It all comes back to what his agreement with the company was. And I think that there's a lot more that isn't being said, and that's okay. We don't need to know the details of this story. The idea was to talk about what this means. I'm going to move on now to something that Johnny has to say. Johnny says, and this is my paraphrasing, is that he practices separation of work and social media. It says, Mark, bless your heart, which, as I said previously, in Southern, that means you're so dumb. Facebook did not get Michael Nolan fired. Michael Nolan got himself fired. The second he listed his employer as his employer on the Facebook link and made a comment that was rude, crude, and socially unacceptable, he got himself fired. I don't list my employer on my Facebook page because they don't have a right. Because they have a right to protect their image. If I say something inappropriate by not responding, they are risking public indignation with their employees' errant behavior. The story does not document the employer's response, but if I employed someone who had posted a public comment that damaged my standing in the world of commerce, I would give them the opportunity to withdraw the comment or remove my name as employer. If the miscreant didn't, I would fire him or her. I've often wondered what kind of person posts cruel remarks after inspiring, uplifting videos on YouTube. Probably someone like Michael Nolan. He and others can't hide behind free speech. Yes, I believe in free speech, but I don't believe you have a right to call someone you don't know fat, stupid, immoral, or slander them without any legal, social, or punitive consequences. Mark, you have 3 daughters. I have 2. One of your daughters appears in a school or church play. It's shown on YouTube. I obscenely and rudely comment that your daughter did poorly, ruined it. It's an embarrassment to the church or school. Your daughter reads the comment and is shattered, never appearing in another school or church function. I imagine the 375 miles between us would soon not be enough for me and short enough for you to cause me to regret my posting. You would want to hunt me down and thrash me within an inch of my life. If you couldn't or wouldn't, you would certainly want to, and you would try to correct my errant behavior. I would try to hurt you any way I could, not because I'm vindictive, no, because I have to protect my child. I can fight back. She can't. Now, with employers checking out prospective employees, social media links for background checks, anything that is posted is no longer free speech, but instead it's a public profile of their private life that they released to begin, and they released it to begin with. Anyone would be foolish to brag about drag racing, outrunning a police car, or discussing automobile multiple denied accident claims while applying for a delivery position with FedEx or UPS. USPS may be over the road or any other over-the-road freight hauler. Should Facebook keep them from being hired? Yes, of course. The company has a right to protect themselves from injury. I could go on, but I'm tired. Please don't publish my email address. Of course not. I never would. So there's a lot to comment on there. You have misread me over the 4 years that I've done the show, because I wouldn't respond in the Johnny, if somebody said something mean about my daughters. I would tell my daughters, it's a mean world, suck it up, because if you can't handle this, you can't handle living in a mean world. I am a meaner father than you are, I guess. I tell my kids all the time, you got the mean parents. I'm sorry that your friends have better parents than I do. Maybe you can go live with them. So in this particular situation, I would not respond that way. I wouldn't blame you, I guess, for responding that way, for wanting to hurt somebody. I certainly would if you traveled there and did it. But wanting to is a different thing. And you talked about, public actions can keep you from getting a job. Absolutely. If your LinkedIn profile is a picture of you, with a joint in your mouth and a 40 in your hand, there's a good chance you're not going to get that brokerage job that you were hoping for. These are things that the society needs to learn. It's one of the comments I made on the first round of this, is that technology is moving faster than society. And I'm fortunate enough to have been the last generation to grow up before every stupid thing I ever did was made public for the world to see. My kids, unfortunately, don't get that benefit. Every stupid thing they do is going to be public for the world to see, especially if they live in Florida. So I get that, but we have to adjust to that. Society has to adjust to technology, just as technology has to adjust to society.
And that's just like, and not to bring this little other thought back up, but that's one of the things that pushed the Europe or some of the European nations for the Right to Be Forgotten Act, which I think is still crap. I don't believe that should be there. If you put it out there, it's going to be out there, and that's the way it works. Johnny, I have 2 kids, and I treat them just like I tell that Mark treats his kids. Yes, there are mean people out there in the world. Yes, it's not right that they do it, but there are mean people everywhere and in every facet of life. So you either need to figure out a way to not ever deal with people, which that means you're a hermit or living in the woods making bombs like the Unabomber, or you deal with it, you know how to adjust and move on. It's just silly that it's this whole idea of where people, oh my God, my feelings are hurt, so now the world's going to come to the end. Well, no, it's not going to come to an end. There's still going to be a day tomorrow. There's still going to be, the sun will set. Suck it up.
Yeah, and so moving on, there's a lot more we could say there, but we've got a couple more things to get to. Kevin, Rick says that being offended is a sign of weakness. Hey guys, I could tell it was tough for Mark not to say the line about the Linux show that's not about Linux. You may be fighting that one for a while. Habits are tough to break. Regarding last week's rant number 1 on online commenting, we have entered a time in our society where the greatest sin you can commit is to offend someone. If anything you do offends another, that seems to grant the offended party carte blanche to decimate any credibility you have, take anything you own, or destroy anything of value you've created. Being offended is actually a sign of weakness. In 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, Stephen Covey said something to the effect that you can't have total control of your circumstances. The only thing you can have total control is your reaction to those circumstances. To become offended is to surrender what little control you have to someone else by allowing them to dictate your response. This would be bad enough if people who claimed offense actually were offended, but I think that in many cases people feign outrage in order to get what they feel to be the moral high ground and cash in that carte blanche I mentioned earlier. As you mentioned in the show, we don't have enough details to know what really happened in this case, but it certainly seems like this blogger, writer, whatever, was intentionally targeting the specific commenter just because she could, not out of a true sense of outrage. Welcome back from your break. I'm looking forward to rant number 2. So that's a common thread that you see these days, is the American pastime of being offended.
Yeah. The ability to sue to get your whatever you want. That's been around for a long time too.
And that's okay. I'll move on to the next one because it dovetails in with what Kevin points out, that we shouldn't ignore the quote victim in this situation either. Hello, gentlemen. I love the show. I'm new to the name. I like the new name, but I still have to think about it when I see it. The man who lost his job for commenting on his personal account. My thought is that he should not have been fired. Maybe he should not have said what he did. The woman, I feel, was wrong in pointing out his comments to his employer. I think his employer overreacted by firing him. A reprimand, perhaps. With all that being said, without seeing the whole of the Facebook post, it's just hard to know if any of it was justified. And he says, I've sent you a couple of messages in the past, and I get a chuckle when you try to pronounce my name. It's made up using the first 2 letters from my first, middle, and last name. He's Korean. Is the way I'm pronouncing it these days in the chat room. But anyway. So these two sort of tie in together. One is that being offended is a national pastime, and being vindictive follows right along behind it. And so Kevin believes, and I think, Rick, I can read into what you said too, that Miss Ford had no right to publicly out this guy. I'm not sure I agree with that, because he outed himself by making that information publicly available and by going on her public space and being an idiot. So I don't see in this particular case that you're right, but certainly that does happen elsewhere. What do you guys think?
Go ahead, Seth. I'll let you go first.
Okay, I was gonna say, from reading what I remember reading about it, it's not like she threatened to call down fire and brimstone upon the apartment company. She just merely said, "Hey, does this apartment company realize that this guy did this?" So, and then it doesn't appear as if she did anything else. I personally don't have a problem with that. And then the apartment company, hey, we suspended the guy while we look into this. Okay, I mean, I can understand that. And then we think he should be fired. He's out of here. Really? I mean, there had to be something else. So it doesn't appear as if she was going after them. It's just like, hey, she was attacked. She defended herself, And so I don't really have a problem with what she did, because it doesn't appear that, she was trolling the apartment company to make sure they made an example of him. She just pointed it out, and then social hysteria being what it is these days, gave it a life. That gave it a life of its own, and the apartment company did everything they could to look good in the situation.
Chris, your thoughts?
I just have a hard time believing that, I mean, granted, we are giving a very small snapshot of this particular instance. I just can't believe that, yes, he was a troll for being, saying those words to somebody, but I can't believe that the apartment complex fired him off of just this one offense. There's got to be a lot more to the story, and I don't know.
Right, and so that's one of those things where you got to look at this is poor acting and malpractice all the way around. So here's a woman who's built her career out of being incendiary, and when somebody reacts to her incendiary post,
or her persona,
right, she responds to it. Anybody who goes on in a public forum and makes statements of any kind is going to get lambasted. I mean, I get regular hate mail for my comments on this show. I don't share them with you because those people don't need the light of day shined upon them. And I think that's how the lady should have reacted in this situation. But it served her cause better to point it out. To get a little, because now there's been at least one news article and at least 2 podcasts about this, and probably a lot more.
Yep.
So she was playing a little PR game there by calling down some consequences. And yes, so she is a malactor here. The Michael Dolan is a malactor. We all agree on that. And the apartment management company is probably a malactor for overreacting. But there's also a whole lot we don't know. So that makes I've forgotten even who posted the original article. Let me go look. Anyway, the article, the person who wrote the article, the Daily Beast, that makes them a malactor also for not giving us the information. They clearly wrote a story that they wanted to deliver a certain message.
Right.
They called the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The 8 word headline was designed to convey the story. That gets tweeted. People don't even bother to read the story because they have everything they need to know. He called her a name. He got fired. That's the sanitized headline. So there's bad acting all the way around here, and I'm going to put ourselves in that because we are making judgment calls based on limited information. So we too are bad actors in this situation. So there's plenty of blame to go around, but what I think is fascinating about this is it illustrates, as I said earlier, how unprepared our society is for where we are. We still have social rules that were created around the campfire. And we have laws that were created, only slightly better sooner than that. And we're trying to apply them to technology that was invented 5 years ago. And the rules just don't apply. The campfire rules of engagement don't apply online. there are no consequences for the troll. Around the campfire, the troll gets a hot stick thrown at him, or at least pushed away from the fire where he gets cold. There are consequences in a social context like that. Online, they don't exist.
In our age and older, if there was an altercation, it came to blows, and then that was the end of it. So now it exists in the ether for all time, and it can never end because a year later somebody stumbles upon the thread and flames it back up. And the two people can never be friends and never get past it because they're ensconced in time as these vile people clashing heads trying to destroy the fabric of society.
Right. So from now on, every time Michael Nolan applies for a job that doesn't involve a hairnet, somebody's going to do a search on his name, and they're going to find this article.
Yep.
And so Miss Clementine Ford did more damage than just simply, hey, I wonder if. No, she knew what she was doing. That was a calculated PR move designed to take a certain action, and it worked. He got fired. He lost his livelihood. He lost a great deal of ability to have livelihood in the future. And she got another, a Bronze Star for having, trolled the troll.
See, and the other thing, I don't know if you guys clicked through to get to the Mashable link, but it actually, she puts some screen caps of what the image, of what was put up there. It's a single word post. It's a single word post. Really? I mean, that's just unreal that a single word, and I wonder how many other single word posts did they get brought up? Did they get their employer notified? Or was it just this one guy that she decided to ruin? That's just ridiculous.
Yeah, then later she edited her comment and basically said, I wasn't being vindictive, but then the more I thought about it, the more I wanted to be vindictive. I'm paraphrasing her words. That it's not fair for him to have no consequences. Is it also fair for you to lose your livelihood over a single word in a public forum?
Yeah, I think he should sue her back for declamation of character.
Well, it's kind of hard to defame somebody's character by saying what they said. I want to get back to something I had forgotten about: the difference between online and in person. U.S. law and I'm sure other international laws recognize that difference as well in the terms of slander and libel. So slander is something you say, libel is something you write. So we do have a legal codification that online is different than, or that in person is different than in print. And when you say something online, it follows the rules of libel. So there is a difference. But I think in this case, it's a distinction without a difference. It doesn't matter. He wasn't tried in court for either slander or libel. That law doesn't apply here. He was summarily dismissed. We think, maybe, according to the way that the original article on the Daily Beast was written. That's what we are led to believe. I really honestly think this was probably the third or fourth or fifth strike. I hope that. My faith in America wants me to believe that that's the case.
Well, I think it wasn't even American. It was
this is Australian.
But I live in America, so it's still my faith in America makes me want to believe that.
Well, the question now, I wonder if that would actually, what would happen in the United States if this actually happened? Would the same thing have happened, or would it just not happen and people would just tell everyone to get over it?
Oh no, it would be fire and brimstone on him. He should be drawn, quartered, castrated, executed, flogged, and then she should get a book deal, a speaking engagement, and her own talk show. So unfortunately, that's how our society is,
and that's sad.
I agree. That's very sad.
It's just, yeah, there's badness all around. That's all there is to it. It's not right for a man to spew hate without consequence. It's also not right for a man to lose his job for expressing an opinion. that is legally protected. These are the two takeaways that I get from this.
Right. Yeah, I don't disagree with you on that. The punishment should fit the crime. And here the punishment did not fit this crime, but again, we don't know if it was the straw that broke the camel's back. Well, it is what it is, as you see online a lot these days.
Right.
Who's playing some video?
Oh, that's probably a page I went to, because you're the only one hearing it.
Oh, okay. Because it was it was about that article. Evidently, some sort of news show. So you might want to sanitize that, Mark.
Well, it's not recorded. I say only you were hearing it.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't hear it.
Yeah. So okay, I there's a lot more we could say about that, but I don't know that we're actually going to cover any new ground. I think we've covered this from all sides. We've pointed the blame at all sorts of people, and there's clearly no winner and no loser in this situation. I'm not even willing to call Michael Nolan a loser, because he may very well have deserved what he got. I just don't know.
And there's no way for us to know unless we get unless the actual information was given to us from both his point of view, her point of view, and the business point of view.
Right. And as you click several links into this original Daily Beast article, you see that the different newspapers did different things, and they're all pulling stuff off of his Facebook page. There's a picture of him there with no shirt on, looking pretty ripped, that I'm guessing he didn't submit voluntarily to the newspaper. So that's another thing of every time you go to, you watch a news story or read an article online, there's this supporting file footage, right? And it's here lately. It comes from clips of Twitter and Facebook and the internet. In this case, the media is the internet. Can use your public pronouncements to build a case against you. And that's not news. That's not new, nor is it news. But news outlets have been trying people in the court of public opinion for as long as there have been newspapers, and even before that. Grunting around the water hole to Grog would have used, hear what Grog said. This is the way humans work. Now it's just easier, and we go back to Rick's point. No, it was Johnny's point about what you put online is going to be used against you. I often say every time we have a guest on the show, when I start the recording, I say, we are now live. Anything you say can and will be used against you by the internet. And that's a little joke, but it's also true. Anything you say can and will be used against you by the internet. You need to understand that when you go online, that's what it is. So when you're posting that goofy, hey, here's me looking funny page where I'm, pretending to punch my sister in the face, that's going to turn up later as a known spouse abuser, because it's somebody with the same last name as you and you've got a fist made. That's a weird example I just came up with. But that sort of stuff happens all the time. So the real moral of this story is be hyper vigilant about what you do online, because the consequences are greater and the reach is greater online than it is in the real world.
When you turn 25, have plastic surgery and get your name changed and start new accounts and move somewhere else.
No. And and he's looking at that picture. He's not much older than that himself, right? And so he's still young. And I don't want people to judge me. I'm 43 years old. I don't want people to judge me for what I did when I was 23. Okay?
Right.
I'm not that man. I'm not that boy. That wasn't even a man. So at some point, there has to be a statute of limitations on stupidity. And the great Googleplex allows that statute of limitations to be infinite.
Well, that's where we need to have some personal limitation, or not just limitations, but where we look at the picture and go, okay, that post that was done 8 years ago, maybe it doesn't hold any water. Yeah. But that's still a conversation that needs to happen between, say, an employer and an employer and a prospective employee. Hey, that post was 6 weeks ago. What's going on? or hey, that post was 7 years ago. Are you still like that?
Yeah, it's an election year in the U.S. and so we see this all the time. I remember back when George W. Bush was running, media outlets were making a big deal out of the fact that he was a drunk in college. Well, I'm not electing 24-year-old frat boy George W. Bush. I'm electing, 44-year-old whatever, 50 whatever,
Mhm.
whatever it is. And the same when Obama was running, people made a big deal about the fact that his mom was not the most upright person. I don't want people to judge me based on what my mom is or was. But the thing is, what used to be the domain of presidents is now the everyman. And that's what you need to, that's the lesson. I've just revised my lesson, all right? The kind of scrutiny that used to be reserved for famous people and presidents and important people is now available and ready to be used on you, the Joe everyman. And that's terrifying.
It is.
Very.
I personally would not want to be, growing up in high school right now, looking at the, long future ahead of me with all the stupid things that I see all these high schoolers put up. That's going to come back and bite so many people, and it's sad that we can't let bygones be bygones and words not hurt people for millions of dollars of their life or their livelihood.
All right. I don't want to keep beating this horse. It's dead enough. It has now actually been butchered and filleted and is a nice tartare. We need to let it go. We are almost an hour in, so I'm going to let us do one story, and it's a follow-up on the Fortinet story because it's just sort of more of the same. The secret backed door in Fortinet hardware. They said they fixed it. Turns out maybe not so much.
Well, yeah, and here's the thing: they were so authoritative. This was an unused feature in these particular products, and we removed it a while back, and it hasn't been around anywhere. And now all of a sudden, oh, wait a minute, guys! Not only is it still around, it's also in all these other products, and it's still here. So once again, they're proving either their incompetence or their negligence or everything. So it's just, we talked about this before about how there's a code that allows people in, and this isn't something that sets in the middle, encrypted in your layer under all these layers of hardened defenses. Fortinet is the device that you put to protect you from the outside world. And oh, by the way, there's this open door that's available to the outside world for anyone to get into. So if you're running Fortinet, maybe you should go buy a little blue Linksys router or something and put between it and Fortinet just to make sure you're protected.
Yeah, and the thing here to remember is the Fortinet has acted very badly as a company. This is a show all about bad actors. They put a hard-coded backdoor into their system. That's a pretty bad idea. When it was found out, they denied that it was there. That's a pretty bad idea. Then when they owned up to it, they said, oh, but it was unused and there's no evidence that it's ever been used and it's only in this line of products. And then people started searching and found that, no, it's actually in a whole bunch of different lines of products. And you knew about it. It's been around for more than 2 years. And you're saying that you can't close holes in software that you made to fix a bug that you knew about. And their response to it is, well, it was never intended to be mean.
What? That's one of those double, triple take, and you look at the guy strange and cross-eyed and go, huh?
I didn't mean to spend $400 on shots in the bar and then get behind the wheel of my car and kill someone. So therefore it's okay because I didn't mean to do it. It just happened. It's life. We're doing the best we can. Is this going to affect my bonus? Come on, guys, not really.
So this new article on Ars Technica lists 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different versions of the software that are still alive in the wild. They did this by scanning for the response on live machines on the internet. And Fortinet is still just kind of saying, No, we're not listening. No. That's their response to this. It was never meant to be mean. It's not a hack. It's a feature. It's not a bug. It's a feature. Well,
Yeah.
the feature of me ripping out all of your hardware and buying new is going to be happening very soon too. But where do you go, right? You can't go to Cisco because they're just as bad.
Juniper, they're
yeah,
just as bad.
right.
So, Linux, you're going to build your own. Well, guess what? There's a flaw in Linux that's been
Yes.
around for years, and it hasn't been fixed yet either.
Okay. Don't use SSH on it because then Heartbleed is.
Yeah. The only thing you can do is just get a pair of scissors and cut the wire between yourself and the outside world, and then you will be protected. So.
Right. I've told people, clients over the years, there is no such thing as network security. You either have security or you have a network. Pick one.
That's so true. It's sad.
And most people choose to have a network and risk the security thing. But there is no such thing as network security. It doesn't exist. You either have security or you have a network. Good stuff. This was. I thank you all for giving me, what was that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different pieces and like 50 minutes of content just off of what you guys had to say. That's awesome. I love that. And I think what we're hoping to do is sort of round out each one of these theme months, if we actually end up continuing that, with your feedback. So we'll, instead of a little here and a little there, we'll bundle them all up and have a feedback show. I really like that idea, but I need you to feed back. And the number one way to do that, at least right now, is go to elementop.com, click the Contact Us button at the top of the page, and that opens a form after you answer one of the simplest CAPTCHAs on the planet. And that will send an email that gets priority in my inbox. So you can call 559 I am Opie, as both the door and the former fat guy did, and play that on the record that voicemail, and we'll play it on the air. Or you can use the Zcast app now in the Play Store. I check that for comments. So all sorts of ways to contact us. Also, you can send an email to geekrant@elementop.com, lest you think I am filtering your emails. It goes to all three of us at once. So if you want to slam Seth without me being his bodyguard, you can do that there. So we really thrive on your comments, both good and bad. Positive and negative. A bad comment is, one word that doesn't tell us anything. So we don't actually thrive on bad comments.
Yeah, might get you fired if you do that.
Yes. We thrive on comments both positive and negative because, I'm a big boy. I can take it. So let us know what you think. And now, Seth, what happened this week in history?
Okay, we are going way back in the history time machine here to January 21st of 1888. The Babbage analytical engine passes the first test. Everybody who had computer literacy, at least in our age bracket, heard about the Babbage analytical engine. So the analytical engine of Charles Babbage was never completed in his lifetime, but his son Henry Provost Babbage built the mill portion of the machine from his father's drawings, and on January 21st, 1888, computed multiples of pi to prove the adequacy of the design. And this perhaps represents the first successful test of a portion of a modern computer. Recently, a portion of his earlier machine, the difference engine, was sold at auction of Christie's, or by Christie's of London. So, anyway, that happened this day in history. Computers didn't just spring up overnight. We didn't walk out on the ground and say, what's this we tripped over? There's a long development to get us to this place to where technology now moves too fast for us to keep up with morally.
And that was a mechanical analog machine. Nothing like a computer you would know today. If you turned the right knob, it would punch a paper or whatever, however that worked. As was the difference engine, and then later on, Alan Turing's machine. These were all gears and springs and knobs, but the computer, as you said, had to start somewhere. Cool stuff.
Very cool.
Okay. I think that's all I'm going to say. So let's move on to, I was just trying to decide if there's anything else. Seth, do your show closing spectacular. What do you have this week to lower my productivity so that you look like a better hiring option?
Okay, well, before, I just want to remind people that next week kicks off Financial February. So what kind of financial stuff do you want us to talk about? Otherwise, we got about 2 shows, worth of stuff. But anyway, what do you want to hear? And then, some feedback as we go on.
I was going to do that later, but Okay.
Well, we can do it again. Very-obvious.site. This is a site full of very obvious facts. For example, for the telephone, if your telephone is ringing, probably someone is calling you. If you are driving a car, very probably you are inside of the car. Maybe if you're a redneck, this doesn't apply, but
In a
anyway,
baseball team, there's no need for a goalkeeper.
there you go. And
If
there's
tomorrow-
multiple pages of this.
If tomorrow is Sunday, then today is Saturday. Good stuff. If you need some obviousness, very-obvious.site.
There you go.
.site is a top-level domain?
I guess.
Looks like
So,
a Google
any-
page.
Anything can be a top-level domain now. Remember, they opened that up a couple of years ago.
Proudly powered by WordPress. All right. What do you know? It's very obvious. So as Seth said, next week the theme is finances, and not just how to get out of debt and why you're a bad person if you could use a credit card. Not just that. That'll be in there. But Seth's been doing quite a bit of research on Bitcoin, and we'll be talking about any number of different finance-related things as they relate to technology, as they relate to geekdom. Should you spend $800 on episode episode 1 of X-Men comic? Probably not. But these are things that we'll talk about. Why the Powerball is not a valid financial planning for your future. Things like that.
Cool.
Actually, if you had, I forget the numbers, but if you had $350 or so million to spend on the $1 billion Powerball, you could get the odds up high enough by buying 350 million consecutive numbers that your odds of winning were about the same as the typical stock market purchase over the long term. But then there's the issue of splitting it with people. So you spent 300 million and 2 other people got the same number, you break even. But if you are very, very, very rich, the lottery can actually be a reasonable investment. If you could buy every possible permutation of tickets, you're guaranteed to win.
Right.
There you go.
How would you even do that? Because you can't buy them online. You'd have to hire people.
You have to buy them in person.
Yeah, you'd have to hire a time of people across the globe or the country to stand in line 24 hours a day buying tickets.
Yeah. That's a scary thought. So you would have to do it, I don't know. But anyway, yeah. They said it's physically impossible to do that just because of how long it takes to, because you would have to manually select the tickets, so you have to manually fill in the Scantron form. Imagine doing that 300 million times. That's a lot. So.
All right. Okay, so that's not what we're going to talk about in one of the shows. Probably not, but maybe, because that would be interesting. Maybe an episode on outlandish ways to make money. Followed by sensible ways, as Mark Twain. The best way to double your money is to fold it over and put it back in your pocket. All right, thank you for listening to us. This has been the 3rd/224th version episode of GeekRant. We appreciate you hanging out with us. Chris, Seth, as always, thank you for being the great hosts that you are. Listener, yes, thank you for being the great listener that you are. All that we ask for you, other than donating to us thousands of dollars, which was, that's pseudo, go and do that. That's the first thing you need to do. Secondly, tell everybody you know about this cool podcast that you like, and maybe they'll like it too. So that is pseudo also, go and tell other people about it. So thanks for hanging out with us. We'll see you next week, because that ends this episode of the GeekRant.
Later.
Chris had to bail, so I don't know what's up with that. I guess that's it. YouTube people, see you later. Bye.